Good afternoon and welcome. I'm David Perlmutter. I will be your host this afternoon for our webinar on the DNA of CRE. I'm really excited to be having this with my good friends Linda Day Harrison and Ewa Baska. Ewa is the Director of Marketing. Here we go, there's Ewa. For Buildout, a technology company specializing in commercial real estate marketing. Her focus is on developing campaigns, emphasizing and promoting client success. Her responsibilities include developing and executing the marketing strategy for the company, concentrating on lead generation and brand awareness through digital marketing and public relations. Prior to Buildout, Ewa spent 5 years in various marketing positions at Holden, a sales training consultancy. She brings a knowledge of both traditional B2B marketing as well as a modern understanding of digital SaaS marketing. She's a graduate of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, where she earned a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in marketing and international business. And our other presenter today is Linda Day Harrison. Linda is the founder of theBrokerList, an interactive collaborative community of CRE brokers and other professionals. Day Harrison, Linda, to me, is an expert at forging the kind of productive business relationships that are fundamental to CRE success. She was an active CPM and CCIM and traded in her 3-decade career to make finding commercial real estate brokers so much easier. Blogger and CRE influencer Day Harrison has mastered the art of blogging and the use of social media to push her site to the top of Google search. Named one of the 2018 Women in Commercial Real Estate Tech, the top 20 female leaders and influencers by the News, and Women in Real Estate Tech, the top CRE tech founders and CEOs in 2017 by Real Estate Tech News. Follow her on Twitter at both @Day Harrison, @theBrokerList, and now at DNA of CRE. So I am now going to turn over the presenter role to Ewa, but I just want to remind you, and you'll be getting reminded again and again, I am confident that you should take this year's survey, although listen first and learn all about it. And Ewa, I am going to hand the baton over to you.
Awesome, thank you. What an intro, right, Linda?
Thank you so much, David. That was so sweet and fabulous. We appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you.
What a great job.
And this is, by the way, our best subscribed webinar that we've had. So it's a tribute to the respect that the commercial real estate community has for you too. And we'll talk a little bit more at the end, perhaps if we have time, about the broker list and build out. But let's get right to the DNA of CRE.
Can I say one thing before we start?
Of course.
Everybody, I've got a bad cold and cough, but I just want to say I thank all of you who are on this call right now. I see all kinds of fabulous names popping up. I see Casey, Danielle, George, Lauren, Melissa, Russ, Sonny. I see all these names popping up, and I'm just so tickled pink, and I thank you so much for listening. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Ewa, can you just tell us what is the DNA of CRE?
Absolutely. So the DNA of CRE is an annual survey that Linda, the broker list, and Buildout partnered together on over 4 years ago. So this is our 4th year doing the DNA of CRE survey. And it's really a survey to try to benchmark the industry and gain as many insights about the industry as we can. We'll get into like why we started it and when we started it, but the idea here is that we would like to get a pulse every year of what brokers work on, who the industry is comprised of, what types of deals are they working on, what tools are they using, so that we can find trends and that you can benchmark yourself against your competition. And then last year, we also launched the marketer version of the DNA of CRE because we realized that the industry is also comprised of a lot of different types of roles, and we saw a big gap in best practices for marketers in the brokerage industry. So we wanted to also do open up a survey for marketers. So basically, it's an annual survey for brokers and marketers in the industry.
And I want to add something. One thing that I'm passionate about is bringing everybody together, and we need each other. So many of our people are independent. Maybe they're 1, 2, or 3 brokers in an office. They don't have the time and manpower to go out and do this type of a survey to find out how they stack up or what they're doing or what they should be doing. And I look at the DNA as an educational tool, because when you're taking the survey, you're kind of looking into yourself and inventorying, well, what did I do last year? Did I really do these deals? What kind of deals did I do? How did I do them? Did I use these, what kind of tools did I use? I think that's why we're so passionate about it, because it's making you reflect on your past year, and it's educating you, and it's bringing everybody that you work with, your colleagues, together on one kind of universal platform to say, okay, what did we all do, without knowing who said what. It's anonymous.
All right. That is, and I've taken it, and I can tell you it really doesn't take very long to take the survey. It takes maybe less than 10 minutes to do it, and the data that you get out of it is so worth the small investment in time.
Yeah, we've gotten some Twitter testimonials that have said, "Hey, people, take the survey. It took me a few minutes. It was so easy," and it's so well designed by the Build Out team. Sunny and her team are so fabulous. I think it's easy on the eyes, and it's real easy to do. It's not hard.
Yeah. So, how is this year's DNA of CRE survey different than prior years?
Well, you want me to say something, Ever?
Yeah, Linda, start us off.
Well, my first quick thing that's different is that last year we did 2 components to each side of the survey. On the brokerage side, we did the what you did last year part, and then we did the predictions for the future. Same with the marketing side, and then this year the fabulous content people at Buildout melded those concepts together and interweaved the questions so that it was all worked in. So it wasn't like 2 separate surveys, predictions versus the past. So that's one thing. And then of course this is the second year that we've added the marketer edition, which is, I think, fascinating, because it's all the marketing people and what they're doing and what they're seeing and what they're predicting for trends.
And
To add that, this survey is a living organism. Literally. So we analyze and look through all of the results year after year. We try to build the trends, try to analyze the information and build reports to make it valuable to people. So we're always tweaking and changing things based on those results. So for example, this year, year over year, actually, for the last 3 years, the biggest challenge that our brokers have indicated as being their biggest challenge for marketing their listings was always maximizing exposure. And they said, what's the biggest stimuli for winning business? They always voted building relationships as the biggest one. So this year, every year. So this year, what we wanted to do was change it up a bit and still get that information, but add a little bit more color around it. How important is building relationships to your business? How important are these other stimuli that you didn't get to maybe vote on last time. And then more importantly, how much time during a week are you spending on these different tasks as a broker? So you can, again, benchmark yourself against how are others doing? Am I spending the right amount of time? Am I grossly overspending time or underspending time? And similar with the challenges, actually ranking them at, you know, how challenging are they? So these are things that we're constantly changing and adding. And also every year, one of the things that we added this year, which was really cool, was technology tools do you use regularly? So year over year, list and find has always won. So like the Nets, the Catalyst, Quantum Listings, all of our great friends that have listing sites, this is always voted as the #1 tool that people use. So this year we wanted to add a little bit more ROI questions and actually dig deep into it. Like, what does that mean? Why is it the tool that you use the most of? So we added which sites do you actually use? So you can, again, see what is the industry doing. Which ones do you get the most value out of? What do you equate value to? Is it that you're getting lead generation from them? Are you using their email marketing? Are you getting advertising exposure from these sites? So we're constantly adding and iterating in order to make this a relevant and useful survey and information for the industry, while also trying to balance the fact that we don't want you to spend 20 hours on this. We don't even want you to spend 15 minutes on this. So it's a constant kind of living organism that changes over time based on the industry.
Excellent.
I wanted to add one more thing too, is you have to realize that there's two sides to the industry. One is going to be all of the brokers and the marketers. The other side is going to be the people that provide the technology, people like Ewa and our company and everybody, QuantumListing, all the providers. And when we came up with this idea, we said, this is going to help everyone. We all have a vested interest in understanding our DNA. And that's why the name DNA came up, because it is the DNA. How are we operating as brokers and marketers and technology companies as far as what products and services will help us? So these questions help both sides, which helps everybody in the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, what you're describing really is something that's become an incredibly valuable resource to our industry. And I know that when the results come out, I rush to look at it and sort of do that benchmarking that you referenced. But you really bring a lot of insights into things that we don't think about every day, and maybe you can share some of that.
Well, I think that the #1 thing that all of us face every second is change. And it's so rapid. I'll tell you, even with the DNA of CRE, think about it, Eva. We've done it 4 years now. Look at all the things we've changed. You know, look at some of the questions where we've had companies, they're gone. I mean, we had companies' names in the survey we've had to remove. I mean, and of course, add new ones. And so we're seeing all these changes, and it's so constant that you've got to have something to memorialize our history, in essence, because there really isn't anybody doing it overall. You know, there's industry segments and groups. You know, there's a geography segment, there's a specialty segment. What I mean by that is there's probably a retail group doing some kind of study. There's probably a local group doing a study for their people. But this is for everybody. We're spanning the whole group. We're not just saying it's a certain segment. So that's why this is so fascinating, because we throw everybody in there. We don't care if you're industrial, retail, office, whatever. I don't know if that answers the question. I'm got a lot of cold medicine going on, but that's
Have you looked at the demographics of the industry? Men versus women, and what do you see there?
Well, that in fact, I think it was Tori or someone actually did I asked for that. I said, could you guys give me a slice and dice on the men versus women. And, you know, it's funny, a lot of things were the same, but then there were some things that really jumped out at me. One of them was what they focused on. A lot of women tend to be landlord reps. I thought that was really interesting. So, you know, you'll see patterns like that. Landlord reps seem to be a predominant, just of the people, obviously, that took our survey. And retail is big for women, which I thought was interesting. And, you know, kind of things like that, you know, patterns like that. And then I also noticed the last year and year before, because I believe it or not, our first survey, we didn't ask some demographic questions like, you know, are you male or female? But with Barbie Reuter suggested it. I said, Barbie, thank you so much for that. So in year 2 on, we've added, are you a female or male? But there's, everybody says it's like 80-20 women, men. It has been pretty much that standard on our survey. But I push everybody so hard to take the survey because I think there's more women than that, but I just don't think they took the survey. Yeah. But there are some differences, but there's a lot that's the same. Oh, money. On the high end and the low end, we seem to be pretty different. Men definitely are making more money than women. That came out in the survey for sure.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
Yeah, so that kind of brings me to what I would love to ask the audience, and I don't know if they have abilities to speak or if you want to just type it into the questions or the chat box, but what information is interesting to you? Because with the DNA of CRE, we have the ability to slice and dice the information in any way possible. And, you know, we take our liberties to basically assume what we think is interesting. So we always, in terms of the actual survey, we have a survey portion where we collect all the data. We then go and analyze the data and create these infographics, which was what you're seeing right now. And then later on, we also release reports where we actually do more than just present the results. We do analyze it and make some sort of commentary on it. So with the broker reports, we slice it by brokerage size. So we try to compare what people do if they're in a small brokerage, a medium, or a large, and we have all of those definitions in the report. For the marketer report, we have we just presented general best practices for the whole company or for the whole industry. But we want to hear from you to hear how would you like to slice it? We've considered slicing it by commissions. So what are the top performers? What things are they doing? Just hearing what types of reports and information you would like to get.
Well, Casey and Melissa both put comments in the chat box. Thank you, Casey and Melissa. But you guys can talk. We haven't muted you, so please unmute yourself and talk. We'd love to hear your voices and get you interacting.
We did have to mute one person identified only as caller number 3 because of some background noise, but everybody else can unmute them.
Well, how do you?
I can.
I've got Casey and Melissa both said something, and I'd love to hear their voices.
Let's see. Let me see if I can.
Hey, Linda.
Hey, Melissa.
I'm laughing because you're probably the only one who says that.
I love your voice.
The advisors here are like, oh my God, Melissa's talking again.
But say anyway, what you said in the comments.
Well, Melissa, can you introduce yourself to the viewers at home?
Sure. My name is Melissa Swader. I'm with SVN Desert Commercial Advisors in Phoenix, Arizona. And I'm the Director of Marketing, PR, and Administration here for the franchise. And we have about 23 advisors here. And I have to say, you know, in terms of this is my life where my phone's ringing on both ends. Yeah. You know, some of the advisors here, they do have those long-term relationships, but when you look as an industry, when you're going, you know, when I'm attending these broker events, you know, people who are, you know, been in the industry 20, 30 years, I mean, these people have been working with the same people, you know, and that's how they're establishing, you know, their network. And, you know, sometimes they don't even need to market, you know, it's a built-in network for them. You know, they've been just in the industry and where there's, you know, a connections or relationships, there's income. You know, there's a way to make money.
Yeah, but your point about the men versus women, you're saying that because the men have been doing it longer. So you're
Yeah, I do think that men probably started earlier on in their career. I think women probably came in later into the commercial sector of it.
I see.
Interesting.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's an
Could be.
interesting data point. You know, I'm pointing to this little area that the majority of at least our responders, but again, we're trying to get a pulse of the industry, are in the age range of 50 to 60, and 77% are male. So I think you're probably right in your assumption that they've been around longer, they're more successful because of that, because it's so relationship based. A question we added in the marketer was actually how many years did you spend in marketing, but then also how many years did you spend in CRE? So that's something that's interesting too, that we can add to the broker survey to see, you know, how long have you been in the industry, and we can slice and dice that also.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the men versus women thing, I think, is fascinating. And I wish I were an analytical, like, number cruncher guru, because I bet there's so much ways you could twist and turn this data. And I want to bring up, we will give you the raw data. So if you're a pivot table queen or king and you love doing super analysis on data, you could literally take our data and have enough content till the end of the moon here.
Yes.
Of writing blogs or finding little tidbits of facts, because all the different crossover ways you could analyze our data. I mean, all the things you said, Casey and Melissa, make my wheels spin on, wow, that'd be cool to know by age, you know, how much men and women, you know, differ in how much they make. You know what I mean, Eva? There's so many ways of doing it. It's crazy.
Absolutely. And yeah, so that is something that we offer to anyone that asks. We can give you the raw data. We do take out any personal information that might identify you with your answers, because we do want this to remain anonymous, but we ask people for their email if they want to get emailed the results first. It's not required. So we would just scrub that for any personal information. And then absolutely, it's something that our partners, which we can kind of talk about a little bit now too, is our partners sometimes take our data and actually blog themselves. So the Massimo group has done some cool things around, I think it was commissions.
Yes.
You know, creating content around it. I know SVN Solomon has taken that and created blogs and content for his personal use for SVN. So that is something that we definitely can do, and it's another way to kind of make this a for everyone survey, not just a BrokerList and Buildout thing.
Yeah, no, that really is amazing and somewhat unprecedented, I think, the way that you share the information, and really everybody has different perspectives, and you know, brings something else to the information, and I think it makes it even more valuable to our community than it already is.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to talk, Melissa, thank you for being a voice on our call. We would love to hear from anybody out there. I see a lot of my favorite names on the list there. I wish you'd ask a question. We'd love to hear from you. But go ahead, David. What else were you going to ask us?
So let's see. Why should marketers and brokers? Well, you know, we talked a lot about sort of the broker side. Let's talk a little bit about the marketer side. What do you think that this DNA of CRE can bring to them, and why should they care about taking this? And we can get some input from our marketing people on the webinar also, hopefully. So.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, Eva, I really would like you to answer this one, because I have always been so impressed with you as a marketing person. I think you're just extraordinary. And I remember when we first met and you took over Buildout from day one, and the first thing you wanted to do was survey people in your own way, you know, whatever, you know, do your own pulse of the industry, because you were new to it. So could you imagine if you stepped into the industry today and had the DNA to turn to?
absolutely. And thank you so much for your kind words, Linda. We've partnered since day one. Just to give you a little bit of a background with Buildout and the BrokerList. BrokerList was our first syndication partner. They were our first technology partner on Buildout. And so we've always had a really fantastic relationship with Linda. And so my first day when I started here, Vishu, our CEO, and Chris, our partner, was like, you have to talk to Linda. That's the first thing you have to do. She has a wealth of knowledge about the industry and she'll help you. And so we started chatting and talking about, like, there's so many things that we can do. What can we do to help the industry? What can we do to market ourselves? And just, had great conversations. But this DNA thing was born from those conversations because the biggest problem I had was coming into an industry where I didn't know commercial real estate. I couldn't just Google it. There was nothing around brokerages. There was nothing around our clients. We sell to brokerages. And Linda was in the industry and she's like, there is no information. It's such a secretive industry. And yet there's so many of us. And the premise of BrokerList is to have a community, have a network where you can share and help build each other up. And so we decided to do this survey to kind of fill that gap of zero information. And so that's really where this was born. But specifically for marketers, very similar thought process here. We both work with marketers on an everyday basis. Those are our clients. And there is so little information about how to do marketing in CRE brokerage. There just isn't. So there, I think now it's so much better. I do think there are groups that are forming. I think there's best practices groups. There's networks where you can talk. I know that NAI has a really extensive network where all the marketing coordinators and directors get together and chat about all of their problems with listings and how do you do this? How did you do that? But that's where this survey was born from. We wanted to see, what do marketers in the industry do? What don't they do? What do they want to do? And it's funny because I'm coming from a place of marketing a company. But when you're doing marketing at a brokerage, you're not only marketing a company, but you're also marketing the listings. That's your primary function. And you might even be marketing the brokers. So we had to kind of encompass all of that information in order to really build a holistic picture of what marketers do at their respective jobs, offices. And so what was really cool is to me, was just some of the staggering, kind of like far answers. Like 96% of people display listings on their company website. That's like a standard now, right? So there's no more room for error. You should be displaying your listings on your company website. What tools are you using to display them? There's a bunch of different, plugins you can do. Are you using videos and photos? A bunch of people are taking their own photos. 50% are using videos or 3D tours. 58% are using drone technology. Interesting also, they're outsourcing that technology, so it's not something that they're developing that skill set in-house. Just there's a wealth of knowledge that we're trying to tap into to help people. What's the next step that I should be taking when I'm marketing these listings, when I'm marketing my company? What other things are people doing?
And also to help, to me, the marketing people are always the ones that are the last ones to get money from the companies. And to me, that just kills me.
Right.
And I think that this is something they could show their bosses and say, hey, if they don't have something, look, everybody's got this. We have to do this. I mean, I can just imagine some boss saying, oh, no, you can't do that. It's like, wait a minute, you want us to be the only one? So I think this helps them in that area as well.
Well, I think, I just, since we started syndication through Buildout, one thing that I have noticed, and I'm sure you've seen this too, Linda, with the BrokerList, is the people on QuantumListing that have the most listings are all Buildout customers. And, and I always wonder, is it like a chicken or egg thing? Do they have so many listings because they're on Buildout, or do they have Buildout because they have so many listings? And
True.
I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. I think Buildout gives the marketers these tools, and I think clients are impressed with the quality of them and how quickly the things can get produced and rolled out and syndicated to all these different sites. Otherwise, the marketers spend their whole life uploading things to different sites. So it's kind of an interesting side note, I guess.
Well, it's a demand. They have to do something. They can't function. They cannot function without a tool like Buildout. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be when you look back on the industry, it's madness what they've been doing, the marketers. I mean, it's torture. So you have to have tools that streamline and organize and template and whatever you want to, the words are, to eliminate redundancy. The redundancy is staggering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That would be the biggest thing. It's like the point to bring it back to the survey is that get rid of all the busy work that you're doing. Stop logging into 10 listing sites, uploading information over and over again, uploading your pictures and all the things that are super time consuming, copying and pasting documents, brochures, offering memorandums, all those things. Automate that, all the tedious work, and spend your time on what you do best, which is marketing. How do you drive more people to your website? How do you advertise this actual listing? How do you build a brand for your brokerage? Are you, what are you, maybe now you can do advertising. Maybe now you can do social media. So these are things, again, where it's like, yeah, get rid of all that stuff and then focus your energies on the things that you should be doing, where there is actual value, where you can produce more than just the tedious work.
Right.
So, one thing that, Linda, Eva, and I, and probably some of the other people on the call here have in common is that we are all, well, first of all, we're all in the commercial real estate industry, but on top of that, layer in the commercial real estate tech industry. So have you seen changes in the last, several years that you've been working on this, your various CRE tech ventures in that industry?
Well,
Linda, do you want to start?
I mean, it's. I mean, when I first started, I mean, it was like, pulling teeth to say to someone, way back when, even to find people on LinkedIn, they weren't even using LinkedIn. So we've come so far. And now if you don't find someone on LinkedIn, and I don't mean to say this sounds so bad, I mean, they're like a freak. I mean, it's like, whoa, whoa, why aren't you on LinkedIn? Well, I don't know anybody that's not on LinkedIn, but my point is back then, nobody wanted to be on. They didn't think they needed it, which they didn't. And that's because not everybody was using it. But then as it started to grow, people started to use it. And I'm seeing, inch by inch, and it is inches. It's not yards, it's inches for sure. People are starting to realize what online marketing is. And in the beginning, when I started, they had no idea. No one really digested the concept of a search engine. And nobody really digested. And I think still to this day, a lot of people haven't digested that we are all slaves to the search engines. I'll just, to be frank. I mean, do you agree, Eva? I mean, that's what we live for. I mean,
yeah.
Your entire day and world is about hoping people find you. And it's following what the search engines tell you to do. Like you better have SSL, or you better have the mobile, or you better be doing this or that, and your content. It's all driven by that. And back then to today, nobody cared. They didn't even understand it. It was just like, oh yeah, we've got a website. What are you doing with it? Oh, nothing. It's just a website. It's like, wait a minute. You've got to
just check the box anymore. Exactly.
Yeah, they thought, oh, I just have to have a website and everyone's going to find me. It's like, no, you don't. Now it's starting to click. And I do see it happening in our industry. And I'm really proud of so many of our marketing people. And I want to give a plug to our CRE marketing call, which everybody is invited to. Everybody, anybody is invited to be on that call every month. And it's all CRE people that love CRE marketing and want to learn. Get on the call. You know, you're invited, everybody. I don't care if you're technology, broker, marketing person, come and learn. But anyway, I don't want to get off that topic. But my point is, way back when I started, that would have been unheard of. I mean, people would have they laughed at me anyway when I started the broker list. They said, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just herding cats. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody wants to be in a database of all commercial real estate brokers." You know, so I didn't believe it. I said I disagree. I said I was a landlord rep almost my whole career. One of my number one things I had to do was be in front of the brokers, and I knew how hard it was. And we used to do it with paper and pencil before we had technology. And I think that we should have a single place. And so we kept doing it. And so I think a lot has changed. And I don't know if that paints a good picture or not. What's your opinion, Eva?
Yeah, to me, I mean, I think this screen right here kind of says it all. Even 4 years ago, when we first started this and when I entered the industry, there were many categories of technology solutions. And not only were there not that many categories, but there were also like one company doing these things. And now the CRE tech market has really, really boomed. People are coming in. There's tons of new funding. People are also leaving. Companies are also, not making it through. There's a lot more competition. There's a lot of amazing technology that I think the industry has finally grown up and just really entered the rest of the world. I think we now finally have in the CRE world true technology that rivals all the other industries. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that we've seen a change in, is that there's all of these tech tools that you can now use to make your job easier in order to do what you're supposed to be doing, which is building relationships and getting deals done, right? So all of these tools are here to help you get your job done better. So I think that's really, really the big thing that I've noticed as a change.
I think that's true, and I think what you're going to see more and more of is these different tools learning how to talk with each other and play nicely with each other in the coming years, because the more things can be integrated and you don't have to go from one site to another, I think the better it's going to be for people in the industry who, in the commercial real estate industry, who use these tools.
Exactly.
And you know that they tried to do that. They've been trying to do that, David, for decades. Decades. There have been like international organizations that have tried to get the commercial real estate industry to have standards. And but it's now, guess what? With technology, it doesn't matter. Technology is so smart that it understands data. It can be made to understand. Let me correct that. It can be made to understand things to the point where it'll just pull the data in the right sequences or orders, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where back in the day, they were begging people, "Oh, everybody with your leases, use these fields for your data. We want to match everything. So when new companies take over portfolios, it's not this SWAT team grueling torture." And now today, things are becoming so sophisticated that there's equipment and there's tools that just read those leases really fast and pull the answers in and put the stuff in a database. So to me, that's what I love to hear about our industry, is how things are just getting so much smarter. And I think they refer to it as AI, artificial intelligence. Andrew, if you want to speak, we'd love to hear from you. Yeah. I see Andrew's there.
Yeah, hello, Andrew Bermudez.
He would love to say something about that.
I'm going to unmute him, or send an unmute request, because he's got a lot to say and it's always interesting.
I know. He's so
Hey guys.
Hey.
You know what?
Hi, Andrew.
I just realized that when I joined the webinar, there was like a little icon in the middle of the screen that said enter your name and email address. And I did not see it. So the whole time I've been watching it and listening to it without actually like logging into the thing. pretty funny.
We
But,
love you, Andrew.
thanks. We love you too. We love all of you. So what did you want me to chime in specifically? Because you guys were talking about a lot of stuff.
I was talking about artificial intelligence and how it's changing the industry.
Yeah, you know, it's really interesting on the artificial intelligence. So at the end of the day, what commercial real estate landlords and brokers want to do is generate leads, right? So there's the data can give you, AI can piece together different kinds of data to create and let you see buying signals, meaning, hey, this person is likely interested, or this person is interested, or here's the people that you should be targeting. And I'll give you an example of that. So let's say you list a property on Buildout, you send an email, and you're marketing through there, you're marketing through MailChimp or Constant Contact, and usually these systems will track whether somebody's opened the email, forwarded it, etc. The problem is that somebody needs to go into that program, download the information, and know what to do with that information. Well, what we've noticed is, and through this intelligence, we've been able to see that anybody who responds or clicks on it within a certain period of time from when it was sent, and if it's being forwarded, that usually those people are likely to have a need and schedule an appointment with you, which is a feature that we had built into.
So basically what you're saying is it knows when someone clicks on it.
It knows when somebody clicks on it, but it knows what to interpret as interest.
Interest,
right? So somebody may open it once just to delete it. But if you see somebody opening it twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then maybe forwarding it to their organization, and you have like 10 or 100 opens, usually that shows that there's something that caught their eye there. So that's just one example.
If a broker does a mailing, an email, and he's got a listing, and then the people open it and they open it more than one time or whatever, does it know if it forwarded it?
Yeah, it'll know whether, yeah, and it's kind of easy to do that because it'll check IP addresses, and there's other tricks to that help you track that stuff. So
that's
the other
a good example of what I'm talking about.
Yes, so it's basically trying to find the needle in the haystack as most efficiently as possible. The way to find a needle in the haystack is usually just burning the haystack, right? You just light it on fire, come back, and then they are. It's probably the smartest way to do it. So the other thing too is, like, for example, let's say a broker or somebody's prospecting for potential listings for sale, right? There's things that you can look at. For example, when the last comments when the property was sold, there's databases out there of when the loan's coming for maturity. And then building a system, what artificial intelligence can do is it can actually analyze all those patterns and actually push that information to you. It can say, hey, Linda, you should contact these 3 properties in, Southern California because the loans are coming up. There's a high propensity to want to sell because of this and interest rates. So you've got all of these data, all of this data that you have access to and that you're getting that usually people aren't paying attention to, and you're turning it into gold, because what it's doing is it's the intelligence is able to process data better than a human can, or more effectively than a human can.
So let me say this now, because every year we try to change the survey, and I'm thinking, Eva, with all this we're doing, is AI just something behind the technology so it wouldn't be something someone's using per se? You know how we've got all these different categories, Eva? It's becoming a big part of.
Yeah. So for example, I would definitely categorize it as that. So when you talk about AI, it's really a feature. More than anything, because you can operate at, let's say, a CRM, or you can operate a listing service without AI. It'll work. However, if you have AI in a listing service, as people are searching for properties, you can dynamically show more relevant properties as they search to better serve the landlords and listing brokers start trying to get those properties leased or sold, and at the same time shorten the amount of time that somebody looking for space is spending on the market. What we found out is all of these business owners looking for commercial real estate, and also the investors, they dread looking for space. They need something that's easier. So the better you can provide an experience for that through data and analysis, the better.
Interesting.
But the way to do it is the machine. It's good to have a machine do it, because imagine if we wanted to take this endeavor, we would have to manually go and update all this stuff, and we just can't do it effectively.
Right.
Exactly. That's just immediately when you were giving the example of all the emails and the opens, engaging interest, like that's what email marketers do, right? Like that is what I've done just poured over click-through rates and open rates, engaging, okay, is this person a hot lead? And we're doing lead scoring and all these things that are so time consuming that basically in the end, what happens is you just stop doing it because it's just too tedious, and you're doing all these different tests around subject lines. So you have to just start weighing out what's a bigger priority and what's going to give you the most ROI. And usually the analysis falls out. You're going to do more work rather than analyze the data. So having something like AI on top of that is a game changer for sure.
Yeah, so I agree with you on that, Ava. That was you speaking, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I completely agree with you. So if you look at why a landlord or a property owner would hire a broker, is for marketing, not because you're the best salesman. It's because you're going to attract enough leads that we know something at the end of the funnel is going to convert. The problem is when we come into commercial real estate, nobody really teaches us like business 101. They teach us how to cold call. They teach us how to do things the way that those people have done it before. But they don't really give us a crash course on, hey, here's all the data points. Just get emails, get this data, collect it, develop a system to interpret the data. So that way, out of 1,000 people that come through, the system can just immediately save you a ton of time and say, these are the 3 people you're going to call. But you need technology to do that, because we could throw 100 humans at it and it could take us a week versus the machine can just do it in a couple of hours, maybe seconds.
Interesting. So obviously AI and machine learning are huge parts of our future for everybody, and whether you're a consumer, or a commercial real estate person, marketing, whatever you do, it's affecting our lives, and hopefully it'll be for the better. Any other technology that your survey tells you that it's going to be impactful?
That's a great question. So last year, what we mentioned, and I'm trying to find the right link here, maybe this one. We added a prediction section. So usually in the first 2 years, it was backwards looking. So we always launched the survey. So now we're launching, it's 2019. So we're gathering information on the past year, 2018. But obviously everyone wants to know what's going to happen. It's interesting to know what happened, but predictions are definitely really juicy and interesting. So we added a little prediction section last year, and one of the things we talked about is, will CRE embrace technology more or less in 2018? So this was last year's. So people said, more. I think that's a pretty obvious answer. Interesting, like what tools are you going to adopt in 2018? Most people said marketing software, CRM, electronic e-signatures, drone video, interesting, listing marketplaces, document sharing. So these were kind of the things that people wanted to adopt this year in 2018. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually compares to what they really did actually do in 2018. And then we did have a question about more of these, I'll call them futuristic, but I think they're less future. I think they're more current now. But which of these types of technologies are going to affect CRE the most? And we had AI on there, VR, blockchain, driverless cars, any other write-ins. And the majority of our respondents said none of these. And I think that's because, and so what was cool was actually the write-ins, which we feature in our report, is that everyone took it as what's going to impact your job in 2018, and they said none of these. But every write-in response, every other, and none of these response basically said in the mid to long term, all of these technologies are going to drastically change the industry. So maybe not next year, but definitely everyone is anticipating a huge shift in how the industry works.
Well, I think what's telling is, especially the AI one, because to me that would have been the number one in my one I would have picked. But I think it's interesting because it goes back to what Andrew said. It's a feature. It's behind the scenes of technology. In other words, it's here already. We're using it. We don't know it, you know, and I'm not even talking about just our industry, but in our life. I mean, you know, they're talking about, you know, you walk into a store and there's cameras that know where your eyes are moving. I mean, it knows that you're looking at the bottom shelf or the top shelf. I mean, and then they're digesting all that data. You know, there's how about that one, David, that walk lady, WALC,
Yep,
is it?
that is
I
correct.
mean, all these things are just, they're here. And I thought that's interesting that that AI wasn't the first one.
You know what?
Go
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in
Go
there
ahead.
really quick. So you're right, Linda. I mean, if you're using Outlook today on Office 365, if you're using Gmail, most people in commercial real estate use, you know, Microsoft services. That's
Right.
already powered by AI.
Right.
And
Right.
it's basically an ingredient of the technology to make it easier for you to be productive. And productivity can be making more sales, generating more leads, moving more properties. But I completely agree with you. I believe that the reason why AI isn't like a big thing, yeah, but it is 20% per the slide.
Right.
So that's bigger than the other categories there, with the exception of VR.
Yep.
So the interesting thing is that when you think of AI, it's such a nebulous term that it doesn't necessarily, AI seems like, hey, you know, you want to buy some flour? Well, no. Well, you can make cookies with it. You can make a cake. You can do this. You can do chicken parmesan. So then it opens up. You have to, it's the application of the AI that's important for people.
Right.
So if you just say, hey, would you like some flour? Would you like some AI? It's expected that we're going to get these sort of responses.
And people don't really think of Siri or Alexa as AI, but they are.
It is.
It's, you know, it's woven into the fabric of our life in ways that we don't really, it's not obvious on a day-to-day basis.
I agree. I think since we can't clarify what we mean in some of these these questions and the possible answers that we give, I think it leaves a lot of room for interpretation. And I can definitely see people being like, "Oh, AI is robots. It's Westworld. It's scary things, right? It's Elon Musk. Robots are going to take over the world." So absolutely that. If
well,
you
and
think
it goes
about
to
it
show
in
you
that,
how
it's not here yet.
it goes to show you how misunderstood things are and how our industry, what the word on the street is. And I think what I thought was the most fascinating of all the things was the driverless cars, because to me, that's all you heard about. It was like every headline. You know, oh, an Uber car just crashed. Oh, this happened. Oh, that, you know, everything was driverless cars in the media. And that only got 2%.
And what's interesting about driverless cars is actually something that I think will change commercial real estate the most. And so maybe it won't change the brokerage industry as much as like VR and AI will. But I think as a whole, when you think about properties, when you think about cities, driverless cars is going to change location drastically. You will no longer need location. It will be somewhat automated again by being able to drive there really quickly, more efficiently, with less, you know, crashes, so on and so forth. So I think it's going to drastically change how we live and how we work with commercial real estate. So that's also interesting to me that that was so low.
Yeah, you know, but driverless cars, I agree. And personally, you know, I'm in my mid-50s, and so by the time they become dominant, I'm going to need one. But the average age of the car, the average car age on the road is like 11 years, I think. So transitioning to driverless cars is going to be a decades-long process.
Yeah, I agree. But I just
the infrastructure alone is going to take forever, because it's going to be very hard. Imagine we are in Chicago and you have to create driverless car lanes. That's its own separate situation. So unfortunately, because I am all in on driverless cars, like take me places, drive me, robots, automate my life. That sounds literally fantastic.
That's funny. So what do you think, David? You want to see if anyone in the audience has any more questions?
You read my mind.
Down.
So we have about another 5 minutes to go here, and please either speak up, and if you need to be unmuted by me, let me know in the chat box, or just ask the question in the chat box if you don't have a microphone on your computer, and we'll share it with the crew. But in the meantime, let me give a small infomercial for Buildout and the broker list, and I'll throw in QuantumListing too, since it's my dime. Buildout does these fabulous marketing materials. I see them come through on our syndications on QuantumListing. I know that Linda was, as mentioned earlier, was the pioneer of syndication from Buildout. If you are a existing Buildout customer, please take advantage of these syndications. The broker list is free forever. QuantumListing, we give you a month free, and then we want you to pay a whopping $80 a year for that. Linda's the broker list. First of all, the best part of the broker list, I mean, it's all great, but you get Linda when you get the broker list, and the most helpful person in commercial real estate, and she wants to really help everybody who comes into contact with her network and be the best they can be. So I am really very privileged to count Linda in my friend group, and she's been so helpful to me. And she's like the Imperium, the prime example of this being a collegial industry rather than a competitive industry, or collegial first before competitive, because everybody wants to win the business, but no deal was ever done alone except in commercial real estate. So,
well, David, I copy everything you said to both you and Eva. I think you're fabulous, and I think we're very fortunate people to be in this era at this time, and to have met all of the people that support us every day. Yeah. I mean, look at our group. They're unbelievable.
Yeah. And I want to also take this moment to announce something that we're going to be doing this year at the three things that we're doing this year at ICSC Recon. Two, which we've done for a few years. First is on the Saturday of ICSC Recon. This is in May. ICSC, for those that don't know, International Council of Shopping Centers. On the Sunday of Recon at, I believe, 5 o'clock, we have a giant meetup at the Area Sports Bar, Area Hotel, ARIA, Hotel on the Strip, and it is super fun. And every year it's been growing, and it's a great event, and we call that one Let's Get Social. And then we bookended that on Wednesday with Let's Get Smart, where we've invited folks in to come and talk to us. Wednesday is usually a travel day at Recon, and fully attended, and we have made lemonade out of what was once a lemon by having really fantastic industry leaders and influencers come and share their knowledge and wisdom with us. And we're going to be doing that once again. Andrew, who you heard from earlier, has been one of our speakers. Linda and Eva and Sunny from Buildout were with us last year talking about the survey results and how the survey is put together. And we have a host of others that have spoken, and you can find great blog posts on that on the QuantumListing blog. And this year we're doing something completely new, and that is we are opening our booth up to QuantumListing members as a place to have meetings on Monday and Tuesday of the show. So if you haven't already joined QuantumListing and you're going to be at ICSC, join now and take advantage of this resource. Yeah, CoStar gives away a Tesla, but we're going to give you space so you can make a deal and buy your own Tesla. Okay.
Buy your own Tesla. That's what you should call it. Buy your own Tesla.
Not just a Tesla. a Tesla with $50,000 cash
Oh my
in the windshield, right? On the dashboard.
It's insane. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Okay.
Anybody
We could have a whole nother webinar about that.
Yeah. If anybody's on the call that's going to ICSC, please tell us that you are. Let us know, because we want to know if you're going to be there so we could see you.
Linda, I am doing my best to get there. You made me the badge. You made me the badge last year, even though I wasn't present. So I want to make sure that I try to get there. And
hope you come.
I just wanted to just to point out to everybody, you know, I really thank the the CRE tech community and just the marketing from the marketing side. You know, we are only as good as the answers we get from industry experts. So we are all lifetime learners, and as Linda had stated before, you know, we're kind of all in this together. And we can only become better as we lean on each other in this kind of community, you know, through, you know, the marketing and the CRE tech and, you know, the valuable assets and insights that people bring to these calls. So I just wanted to, you know, just to give you all a shout out and thank you all because, you know, again, we are only as good as each other.
Thank you, Melissa. You're so sweet.
Thank you. We appreciate
Such a
that.
support.
And we agree.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, everybody. And
Yeah.
thank you, David, for having us, and Andrew for talking, and Eva and Melissa and all my buddies on the list, Danielle and George and Casey. Thank you, everybody.
yeah, and thank you, Eva and Linda,
John.
for all your time. I want to thank Andres and Julia from my team who helped put these webinars together also. We'll be sending out replays of the webinar if you didn't catch the whole thing. Eva, if you've got a slide deck to share that we can include with that, that would be wonderful. And
yeah, we'll send the infographics and the reports for everyone so everyone can read them.
All right. And if people
Thank you all.
to take the survey, Eva and Linda, how do they take that survey?
It is literally just, yeah, that's a great point. How do you do it? If you see the URL at the top, DNA of CRE of CRE.buildout.com, we'll send you a link to it. You could also just search DNA of CRE and it'll pop up, or go on any social media, because we are blasting this so that we can get as many people to take the survey as possible, because yeah, we have to help each other.
Right.
All right, you can.
Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. And here.
Oh, and there's going to be a recording.
Yes, there will be a recording which we're going to convert and send out to you as soon as possible.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.